Hey, what's up everybody? It's Rutech. Today we'll be discussing the top 5 laptops that you can get for gaming for around $600. Now let me just start off by letting you guys know that laptops have a pretty lackluster price to performance ratio, especially when it comes to gaming. Unless you need a portable gaming device, I highly recommend you guys click off this video and instead look at my gaming PC build videos, as you'll get far more performance out of a tower PC versus a laptop. Anyway, another thing worth mentioning with these laptops is that none of them have a dedicated graphics card, but rather they rely on their CPU's integrated graphics processor, aka their iGPU, to game. Now, that doesn't mean that they suck or can't game, because they absolutely can game, but you should not expect all games to run at 1080p. For some games, you will definitely have to downscale to 900 or even 720p, but on the bright side, these are the top of the line latest iGPUs that we'll be talking about, so this is the best performance that you're going to get for the $600 price range. Now before we dive straight into it, I would really appreciate it if you check out my channel. I post PC tech videos among other things. Also, if you have any comments or questions as the video goes along, be sure to drop a comment. If you like the video, drop a like, and if you enjoy the content that you're seeing, drop a sub. It really helps out the channel. Now, this list is in no particular order, meaning that number 5 is not the worst and number 1 isn't the best. However, I will mention my favorite of these 5 at the end of the video. So, starting with number 5, we have the Acer Aspire 5 A51544 R41B. It has a 15.6-inch 1080p IPS display, meaning that you'll not only be getting full HD, but you'll also have a great size screen for gaming with accurate colors since it utilizes IPS technology. As for the internals, it has a Ryzen 5 4500 6-core processor that can boost up to 4 GHz. Now this is the part that will do the work for gaming, since it contains the Vega 8 graphics processor, which is the iGPU. Now the Ryzen 4000 series was only recently released, so you're really getting the latest integrated graphics tech here. Now with this Vega 8 processor, you'll of course be able to run lower demanding games like Rocket League, Roblox, Minecraft, etc. at 1080p with 60 and above frames per second, and for higher demanding games like Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, or Fall Guys, you'll likely have to drop the lowest graphics settings and or lower the resolution. This Acer laptop also comes with 8GB of DDR4 RAM and 256GB of SSD storage, which is perfect for gaming. For ports, it has one USB-C, two USB 3.2s, one USB 2.0, an Ethernet port, and an HDMI port in case you want to use a monitor or some other external display. Next on the list is the Lenovo IdeaPad 3 laptop. This laptop has a bit of a smaller screen versus the last, as it is 14 inches, but it's still 1080p. If we take a look at its specs that will be in charge of the gaming performance, it has a Ryzen 5 3500U, which is the previous generation of the 4500 processor, and it has the built-in Vega 8 graphics, 8GB of DDR4 RAM, and a 256GB SSD. You'll find that the Vega 8 chip in this laptop will be able to run a lot of games at 1080p and is surprisingly good for being an iGPU. Now unfortunately, this doesn't include higher demanding games like Fortnite or Modern Warfare, but of course you can run at 1080p with mid to high settings on those lower demanding games with 60 frames per second. Now if you wanted to at least try to run said games that require stronger hardware, you'd absolutely need to drop down the resolution and graphics settings to get playable frame rates, unfortunately. But if downscaling isn't a big issue to you, then hey, you might have a pretty decent experience with this Lenovo laptop. As for ports, it has 3 USB Type A's, 1 HDMI, and an SD card reader. Not the biggest selection of ports. Something to keep in mind is that this laptop does not have an Ethernet port, so you'll have to rely on your Wi-Fi connection, so if you don't have a stable signal, this might not be the best laptop to pick up for gaming. After all, it is the least expensive laptop on this list, but yeah, overall a very solid laptop for its price. Next on this list, I chose the Lenovo Flex 14-inch 2-in-1 laptop. This is an interesting one because, as you can see, this isn't your typical laptop. It's a 2-in-1, so it can fold and adapt to be a tablet if you'd like, which is a really awesome feature. Its display is 14 inches and is full 1080p. As for how it'll perform while gaming, it looks pretty dang good. It has a Ryzen 5 4500U CPU and 16GB of DDR4 RAM, which I was actually pretty surprised to see. It also has 256GB of storage, which seems to be the popular amount in this price range, which is fine because that is a pretty good amount in my opinion, especially because it's very fast SSD storage. So this laptop does have the same iGPU as the number 5 laptop on this list, so you should expect pretty similar performance to what I mentioned. So if you don't remember, I said pretty much it can run basically all lower demanding games at 1080p 1080p with 60 frames, and if you want to play something a bit higher demanding with 60 frames, you'll likely need to downscale to 900 or 720p. But since this laptop has 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM versus the 8 gigabytes in the number 5 laptop, you'll likely get a couple more frames on average. In addition, it'll be a good bit easier to multitask with this laptop since you have such an abundance of memory. Now let's look at the ports. Now, unlike a lot of modern 2-in-1s, this Lenovo actually has a lot of ports. It has an HDMI port, a USB-C, 2 USB Type-A's, and an SD card reader. Just like the last laptop, this one does not have an Ethernet port, so that could be problematic if you don't have a stable Wi-Fi connection or an Ethernet to USB adapter. Regardless of that, this laptop is a steal. I mean, it has some serious power and features for a really good price. Next on this list, we have the 2020 Lenovo IdeaPad 3 laptop. Its display is 15.6 inches, nice, but it only has a resolution of 1366 by 768, which translates to a bit above 720p. Now, you can look at this two ways. One being it's low resolution, so the picture obviously won't be as crisp. But two, since the resolution isn't 1080p, you will be getting higher frame rates on the playing. Again, take that as you will. Now this one has an Intel CPU and iGPU, but don't let that turn you off from this laptop, as Intel's 10th gen iGPUs are actually really good and seriously compete with the Ryzen Vega 6 and 8 graphics. So this Lenovo IdeaPad in specific has the Intel i3 1005 G1 that clocks up to 3.4 GHz. It also has 8 GB of DDR4 RAM that runs at 2666 MHz and a 512 GB SSD, so double what we've been seeing with the other laptops. So this laptop, like you'd expect, can run those lower demanding games, especially because you won't have to be worrying about the 1080p since this laptop doesn't have a display of that resolution. Now for the higher demanding stuff, obviously in order to get a playable frame rate, you'll have to play at 720p, likely at the lowest settings. For the ports, there's one HDMI, 3 USB Type-A's, and an SD card reader. Again, no Ethernet port, so you'll definitely want to get an adapter if you don't have a stable Wi-Fi connection. Last but not least, final laptop on this list, I chose the 2020 Acer Swift 3 SF314. This Acer laptop has a display size of 14 inches and a screen resolution of 1080p. As for its processor, it has the Ryzen 4500U, which can boost to 4 GHz, which we discussed earlier with the other laptops. Very strong CPU released in 2020 and comes with Vega 8 graphics, which can run lower demanding games at 1080p 60 frames per second and higher demanding games if you drop the resolution and graphic settings. It also has 8 GB of DDR4 RAM and 256 GB of SSD storage. This laptop is very similar to the other laptops we discussed and talked about earlier in this top 5 list, from its 4500U to its 256 GB of storage, so I don't think I really need to go over it again. This laptop does come with an HDMI cable included, so if you have an extra 1080p monitor lying around, for example, you totally should hook it up to this laptop when you're gaming. Next, for ports, it has one USB-C, one USB 3.2, an HDMI port, and of course, one USB 2.0. Again, no Ethernet port, so be sure to get that taken care of if necessary, meaning pick up an Ethernet to USB adapter or just ensure you have a stable Wi-Fi connection. Overall, a good laptop though. You're definitely getting the bang for your buck. So which one do I think is the absolute best laptop on this list? If I had to choose, I would definitely go with the third choice, which is the Lenovo Flex 14-inch 2-in-1 laptop, and let me explain why. For starters, it has the Ryzen 5 4500U, which has the Vega 8 graphics, which is the strongest iGPU out of all the ones I discussed in this video. In addition, it has 16 GB of DDR4 RAM, which makes this laptop not only a bit more future-proof, but it also will make games run a little bit faster than usual since it has more of that memory to deal with. Also, as a side note, that will make multitasking a lot easier, so if you're one of those people that like to have a ton of Chrome tabs open, maybe have a game running in the background plus Photoshop, or even render videos, these 16 GB of RAM will come in clutch for that. And of course, the elephant in the room, this is a 2-in-1 laptop, so it can be used as a tablet, especially with the stylus that's included with it, or just a casual gaming laptop. It also means that you can stand it up and kind of use it as a monitor, and then you can hook up your own peripherals. Altogether, a beautiful laptop though, and is definitely the one that I would choose out of these 5. But all 5 of these laptops we discussed today have their own pros and cons, so you really can't go wrong with these. After all, they are the absolute best 5 you can get for this price range. So yeah, that will do it for this video, guys. If you plan on buying one of these or have bought one, let me know in the comment section and share your thoughts, as I'm sure the community would love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. Peace out.